They say they're escaping from this. But they've arrived to face this.
Why should we help these people when we've got needs of our own?
World in Action asks whether the gypsies of former Czechoslovakia have come here for their own benefit or for ours. Tonight, we see streets where you're beaten up by skinheads, even if you're only a child.
We were running, and they were running after us with chains and knives, shouting, "Gypsies will kick you around."
You're thrown out of bars. You're called nigger. Your life is in danger. Even your home may be torched, if you happen to be a gypsy. Dover, a safe haven for generations of European refugees. But lately the welcome mat has been wearing thin for recent arrivals, who say they're fleeing persecution at home. Strong feelings have been fueled by the arrival of 1,000 gypsies or Roma people from the former Czechoslovakia, seeking political asylum in Britain. Gypsies have been coming in small numbers for years, but last month the trickle became a stream, and their presence in Dover's boarding houses has aroused the hostility of the locals.
I ought to put them all on a boat and send them all back to where they come from. It's a lot.
Why is that?
Because, well, we can't look after our own people, can we?
They're scrounging off the country. But not only that, they're doing a lot of shoplifting and everything, aren't they?
Are they? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Most of them are over here just to see what they can get out of the system. If out of the 800 who are listed in Dover, I should imagine only about 50 to 100 are genuine asylum seekers. Then they should be allowed to stay, but the others, no.
British public opinion thinks the gypsies' fears of persecution are exaggerated. We went to the Czech and Slovak republics to find out if they're right. Písek, a picturesque town in the Czech Republic, with a small but visible population of gypsies. One autumn afternoon, a gang of the town's skinheads armed themselves with baseball bats and set out to find a gypsy. Any gypsy.
4 of us had gone to a small park on the island to exercise. We were there for about 5 minutes when about 20 skinheads started shouting at us, "Black swines, we'll kill you."
We didn't attack them. 3 of us boys went over to them just to shout, and somehow the violence broke out. And I wouldn't like to go into any details.
They kept on shouting that they'd kill us. They were waving baseball bats and chasing us. We didn't know what to do, so we just had to jump into the water. There were some people passing in a canoe. We shouted for help and tried to get on their boat, but they just left us.
The skins were running from both sides and kicked back into the water anyone trying to get out. Every time our boys climbed out, they were pushed back. It was hopeless.
One of the boys, Tibor Daniel, got too tired to swim, but managed to climb out of the river.
When he got on the bank, they kicked him and hit him with baseball bats. He fell back into the water and didn't come out again.
Tibor's family was preparing for his 18th birthday when they heard he'd drowned.
We all felt like we were dead. It was a terrible blow because he didn't make it to his birthday. Everything came to an end. Even today we haven't got over it. We are still totally destroyed by it.
Just 4 of the skinhead gang stood trial. We tracked down one of them, a 22-year-old skinhead called Milan Brat.
I didn't even know that he was drowning. I only found out the following day that he'd drowned. I didn't do anything to him, so I had no reason to have it on my conscience.
Brat got a suspended sentence for racist violence. 3 others were jailed for less than 3 years for organizing it. The charges were minor and made no mention of any victim. Campaigners for the rights of gypsies or Roma people believe the outcome signaled that the state didn't take skinhead attacks seriously.
This incident is probably the strongest confirmation that skinheads who attack Roma are not going to be properly punished, that every delaying tactic will be used in order for the trials to spin out as long as they can. It's caused the greatest panic and anger in the Romani community, which has really seen that after 4 years of trial, the Czech legal system was not able to actually call a murder a murder.
In the past 7 years, more than 20 gypsies have been killed in the Czech Republic alone. Most attacks have been carried out by skinheads.
Here in Písek, I don't go out at night anymore. At 7, when it starts to get dark, I go home, and if gypsies do go out, they don't go out alone, and they arm themselves.
If life in the Czech Republic sometimes seemed like hell for the gypsies, one of their own TV stations offered them a glimpse of paradise. Gypsies Go to Heaven was a film about Czech gypsies who were seeking political asylum in Britain. It emphasized the financial benefits.
How much money can a Romani family or individual get here?
We have 3 children, and I get £140 a week. The social services pay our hotel accommodation, including breakfast.
Can you manage on that kind of money?
Perfectly.
Ladislav Stuka had appeared in the Czech film talking about his benefits. But when we met him in Dover, he made clear his main reason for coming was a terrifying firebomb attack on his home in Prague.
My daughter was burning. If I hadn't saved her, she would have burned to death in front of my eyes. There was a group of skinheads, and somebody threw a petrol bomb in my window. I have 3 children. I was so confused, I didn't know which child to save first.
In the film, the gypsies in Dover praised the schools, the healthcare, and the police. They showed the cameras around their new apartments. Was the film an attempt to entice gypsies into leaving the Czech Republic?
I think maybe it made a little bit stronger the stream of refugees, but the situation would be the same without my movie also, only this problem would appear later.
The exodus began here. Days after the broadcast, buses like these to London were jammed with Czech gypsies seeking their own way out. Just 8 years ago, Prague was in the throes of revolution. 40 years of brutal communism were overthrown. But the end of that regime and the breakup of the country into the Czech and Slovak republics unleashed overt hostility towards gypsies. Politicians even suggested the public pay to send the gypsies abroad.
Gypsies haven't taken part in all the economic change and all the new possibilities that have been offered by this new society, and there's been no attempt to incorporate them into the changes of structure. So from very low unemployment, and the unemployment rate among the Romani population here has grown to at least 70%, up to 90% in some areas, while in fact in the Czech Republic as a whole the unemployment's never got as high as 5%.
Since taking power, the new Czech Republic has further reduced the gypsies' status. It stripped a quarter of its gypsies of their citizenship, and the rise of Czech nationalism has brought a new menace. The skinheads, a growing and violent threat in both new republics. They have their own music, their own fashion, and a blatant admiration for the ideas of Adolf Hitler, including his desire to rid the world of gypsies.
I like this kind of fashion. I respect what it stands for. Dictatorship and a pure white world. I've been part of this movement for 5 years now, since the gypsies killed my friend's brother. That's how I got into it. And then when I see what the gypsies are doing, how they live on our money, steal, carry out prostitution and such things, I don't like it at all.
Skinheads fight pitched battles with anti-fascists, but save their real hatred for the gypsies. And gypsies have reason to fear Nazi violence. Nearly 250,000 died in the Holocaust. Campaigners say the authorities underestimate the threat of skinhead violence.
There's a lack of will here to try and find any organised background to racist crime. The majority of the physical attacks which take place are carried out by skinhead groups, which are more or less organised, which are often related to banned or semi-banned political groups such as the Patriotic Front or Hammerskins, which have connections in Germany and as far as Britain.
We get together, a group of skinheads in town, and we agree on some kind of action against them. When the gypsies do something, we just get together, have a chat, and organise the same against them. We do to them what they do to us. We don't beat up small children. We may scare them off sometimes, but we don't beat up small children.
In a small town in Slovakia is the Topolčany Special School. Most of the pupils are gypsies. Many of them are mentally handicapped. Last year, most of these children attended an ice hockey game at the town's stadium. The game was a benefit match to raise money for the school. They were accompanied by 2 of their carers.
It was at 7:15 in the evening. It was already dark. We were going out this way. We were getting the children into line. I was at the front. My colleague was walking at the end. As we were doing this, I noticed a line of skinheads waiting a few steps away. They had baseball bats and baseball caps turned around. We didn't say anything to the children, but we already sensed that something was about to happen.
They first only watched us, and as we walked further, they started shouting at us.
What did they shout?
Gypsies to the gas chambers, things like that.
We were running, and they were running after us with chains and knives, shouting, "Gypsies, we'll kick you around."
They were carrying knives and chains around them instead of belts. They were shouting at us, "Gypsies, we'll beat you, we'll kill you." And we started running away. And 2 boys ran away, and one of them ripped his jeans.
They first tripped me up, and then kept kicking me in the leg and in the face.
They grabbed us and beat us up.
What did they hit you with?
With chains.
Can you show us how they hit you?
Like that.
The gang beat the boys so badly, they had to go to hospital. Ivan had to have his front teeth rebuilt.
It's not possible for so many skinheads armed with baseball bats and chains to be otherwise gathered at the stadium at the same time. So it must have been prepared in advance.
At first, the authorities denied it was a racist attack. In the end, just 4 skinheads went to court. All 4 got suspended sentences.
They haven't been adequately punished. And if they were, it was only 2 or 3 of them, and the others got away with it.
Back in Britain, gypsy heaven was getting crowded. The refugees who got to Dover stayed there. While seeking asylum, a refugee is not allowed to work, so has to rely on benefit. And a change of rules by the Conservative government meant they had to stay in the port of entry. It didn't take long for Dover to resent this financial burden. Shops circulated a petition asking why local taxpayers should foot the bill.
Just by the petitions we've had signed, I must have sent 20 plus of the petitions back, which are full up with signatures. You know, it's just a general feeling no one wants them here.
The tabloid press stoked the anti-gypsy feelings, labelling the refugees sponges and gyro Czechs. And the Home Office has applied detention measures that have split up families and, critics say, deterred people from pursuing genuine claims. None of the gypsies has yet been granted political asylum.
We have a number of these gypsies who have made abusive applications. Indeed, a number of them, I've spoken to some of them, I mean, a number of them have landed in Britain, being told that what refugee status is all about, and decide to go back the next day. They're clearly quite abusive cases. Some of them have put in cases which we have to consider on their individual merits, and we are doing that.
This has been the first real human rights test that this government has faced, and they have failed spectacularly. I mean, it is the same old story. If the asylum seekers are over here, then no matter what background they're coming from, they must be bogus, they must be economic migrants. And we have this spectacle of ministers chasing the right-wing press, vying with them for the appropriate language to use.
What we're dealing with here is a situation where a number of countries have particular problems. But, you know, we have problems in this country too, and we don't expect people from this country to go and claim asylum elsewhere. We expect our government to try to address these issues. The Czech government and the Slovak government tell us that they're seeking to address these issues too.
We're in the quarter of Sešov in Prešov, one of the largest districts in Slovakia. Next to the place where we are now is the block of flats where I live, just back there. And in this walkway, someone's written this graffiti: "Burn the niggers." And gypsies to the gas chambers. Over on the other side, we can see where someone's written "White race" and "White Slovakia."
Miroslav Lacko lives in Slovakia, where the rise in attacks on gypsies has recently been condemned by the US State Department. Miroslav tries to get legal representation for gypsies, part of a move to challenge what gypsies see as the indifference of the Slovak government. Today, he's visiting a family in the village of Hontianska Niemca, where growing hostility between gypsies and non-gypsies ended when a group of villagers came to this Romany home in the middle of the night, carrying petrol cans.
We watched as the house was burning, and we were afraid and shocked. We didn't know what to do. Children were screaming, and while we were still in the house, the thugs threw rags soaked in petrol into the house. They lit them and threw them through the windows into the house, into the same room where we were. And we threw the burning rags back through the windows, because by then the flames were even spreading to the part of the house where we were with the children.
Most of the gypsies were able to climb out of the back windows, but Luba's brother Josef was beaten back with a concrete post as he tried to get out. The flowers marked the spot where they found his charred body.
The whites who did this were shouting that they didn't want any Romanies here, and that they were Hitler's followers, and that Hitler killed Romanies, and that they were going to do the same.
To date, no one has been charged with any offence in connection with this attack, nor do the authorities consider it racially motivated. Weldon Action found one of the villagers who'd been present during the attack. He refused to be interviewed, but we recorded him secretly at his place of work. just down the hill from the gypsies' house.
We went there to have a bit of excitement, to shout a little bit at those gypsies. It was quite exciting. We threw stones at them. They threw stones at us. I wanted to get inside the house, but it wasn't possible. So my friend and I kicked the door in, and they smashed my head. That was the end of it. We went home. Well, we went to the local bar, because that's what we call home. So, we went to the bar. I put something on my head, but it was still bleeding. Then, the following day, the police came after me, saying that the house had been burned. But I was part of the second group. There were 3 groups. I was in the second group. And it was the third group who set the house on fire.
We asked the villager called Miro whether he was sorry that the gypsy had died in the fire.
At first I laughed. I didn't care at all. But I stopped laughing when the police came to get me. But you know how it goes. I didn't feel sorry.
When we go shopping, the thugs chase us. They throw us out of the shops. They throw stones at us and they say we smell. It's not our fault we're black.
Eastern Slovakia has a large gypsy population, but most of them stay away from town centres and live in quarters like these. More than 2,500 gypsies live in these flats. Only 6 of them have jobs. Gypsies rarely leave the ghetto. If they do, they meet overt discrimination, as we found when we went out with Miroslav. We watched him turned away from hotels, restaurants and bars, including this nightclub.
Citizens of Romani origin are not allowed to come in. I'm sorry, it's not my idea. Unfortunately, that's how it is. I didn't make the rule.
We tried again, this time with a secret camera.
I've come back again to see if it's possible to come in. We've tried a lot of other places.
I know. I'm really sorry, it's not my idea. I don't want to lose my job. I'm sorry, really.
Why don't they let Romanis in?
Don't ask me why. That's simply the way it is.
Is this an order from the manager to ban Romanis?
Yes. Just like we do for drunks.
I'm not doing anything.
I know you're not doing anything, but believe me, it's not my idea. Personally, I have nothing against you, but this is how it is.
Well, all right.
Well, I'm sorry. Goodbye.
Discrimination may be rife in the gypsies' homelands, but will this affect Britain's response to the refugees?
You cannot dump all the problems of poverty and unemployment and racist attacks and discrimination on the asylum system and say that Britain must have some sort of open door policy on asylum. It's unreasonable. What we need to do is have an asylum policy which is consistent with our commitments on human rights, and we're determined to maintain them, and we will, and is also consistent with firm immigration controls, and we're determined to maintain those as well.
This weekend, events took a sinister turn in the town called Gypsy Heaven. Gypsies were advised to stay out of sight as Nazi sympathizers marched in Dover, refueling public resentment towards the refugees. They were promised heaven, but what the gypsies got was a familiar combination of official indifference and hostile streets.